Hey guys, Shalom Aleichem. Just out here in Givat Zev by a construction area, doing little late nights or early morning Hitbodedut, depending on which way you want to look at it. I wanted to share an idea that helped me recently, and I thought maybe it can help some other people too. Is I don't know, I'm not such an expert in like guided meditation, so I don't know if this counts as like a guided meditation or something like that, but just kind of an idea, concept to go with. And that is that sometimes when you're trying to do Hitbodedut, it's hard to get into it. It's kind of like exercising. You can't just go straight into a sprint. You got to stretch, you got to warm up a bit, get the blood pumping before you can really get going with your run. So the same is true with prayer. You can't just dump in, sometimes you can just dive right in if you're feeling really inspired or, something's going on. But if you're going out and trying to initiate it on your own without any other context, so, you can't just jump in cold. You gotta grease the wheels a little bit. So something that I felt really gave me a big oomph was this idea of focusing, really, really focusing on Hashem's Gedula, God's greatness, and that, just trying to get a taste of it, that, you really got to learn the Ari, because, the Kitva Ari, it talks about all the different levels of reality and all the different spiritual worlds, that this physical world is just the lowest part of like the lowest world, and already within that world, when you get up to the highest level, it's already past physicality and into total spirituality. And then beyond that, there's just myriads and, really infinite levels of worlds that you can go up in. And there's, an endless amount of steps you can get to go to God, and yet He's above all that. Something mind blowing I heard from the Leshem that we talk about Ein Sof, this level of infinity, right? And the Leshem says that God is actually above that, that He created that, and that's solely a creation, but He's actually even above that itself. So, we as finite beings can't really wrap our heads around something infinite, right? We can't, we can kind of like imagine infinity, but we can't really hop it properly, right? But the idea that God is so infinite, He's actually bigger than infinity. Like infinity, it never ends, it never stops. It's everything and everywhere and for all time, right? And beyond time. And He's bigger than that. I mean, He's bigger than something that has no limit. So, I mean, He's just to really try and focus on that, and I feel like you get a little bit of a taste with it with this story that I heard from Rab Micha Golshevsky once about the Rebbe Reb Zusha, that one time he was traveling in a town, I think. No one in the area really knew who he was, knew that he was such a big tzaddik. He looked just kind of like some stam vagabond, and he was sleeping in the shul, and they had a really nice silver menorah in the shul, and someone stole it and went missing right around the same time that he was staying there. So everyone just assumed the stranger who's new in the area and the menorah goes missing, it must have been him who stole it. So the Rav of the Shul was a Makubal, a Kabbalist. So he pulls the Rebbe Reb Zusha into a room, and he pulls out these Kabbalah Sfarim and starts showing him all these charts and pictures of this and that and all these different complicated things. And he starts, telling him, I know about this and about that, and I know about these things, and you better be honest with me and tell me whether you stole the menorah or not, because I can pull shtick and do certain things and make you regret it. And so Rav Yazusha says, judging by the fact that you're familiar with all these Kabbalistic charts and diagrams and this and that, I see you're obviously a Mavine, you're one who understands, you're familiar with such high concepts. And as someone who's familiar with such high, lofty things, you obviously yourself must know just as well as I do that much more scarier than all these things, much more scary than that, is the fact that God said don't steal. So this is beautiful. It's beautiful that there's so much depth in the creation, and yet above all that is still like just God in his pure simplicity. And so just to try and focus on that there's so many levels and so much depth, especially, I mean, there's no stars tonight, but if you can go out at night when there's stars and you can just think about how many billions, trillions, I don't know, of stars there are, and how many trillions, quadrillions of miles away they are, and that this light that's shining from these stars, there's a star in the sky and you're looking at it, and that light that's shining down on you from that star has been traveling through the depths of space for, I don't know, like what, 1,000,000 years or something, who knows, 1,000 years, whatever it is, right? And it's going to keep traveling past you for the next 1,000,000 years, billion years, infinity, whatever. But for this moment in time, you connected with this thing that's like so big and so far away, and yet you're connecting with it, right? And just to sit in the moment and realize that you're just part of this vast, vast thing. It's so big, right? And again, that's just the physical world. There's so much past that. So, I mean, there's just so much out there. And just to think that beyond all that is God. And in a way, it's just an illusion. It does exist. This all does exist. Everything around here exists, but only because he wants it to. He wills it to. If in 1 second he didn't want it to, it would have no reality of its own. It has no intrinsic reality. Nothing in creation, nothing in existence exists intrinsically. It's just because at any given moment it's willed into existence and it's desired. So to focus on that just, I kind of like to vision it as like whatever is right in front of you, surrounding you, you kind of like pull it apart, you rip a hole in that like space time, and in that spiritual space time continuum, you just like pull it open and peek through, and through the mask, through all the layers and everything, is just God. It's just the real reality, which is just that it's just God. Ein od milvado. There's nothing other than Him, right? It's just Him. Above all these other things, it's like the Rebbe Reb Zusha said, is Him, right? And just to kind of picture that everything around you isn't really here. It doesn't really exist, and in a way, you don't really exist. Just there's this one actual reality, and that's God, and just to focus on that, and that it's just Him, and that's all there is, and there's nothing else, and everything around you, just imagine fading away, and it's just not even there, right? And then you're there with Him, right? And that's the thing I want to say is, it's hard to like think of this and concentrate on it, but if you can tap into that, then you take it to the next level, which is what? Is that there's this, I think it's the whole thing, I don't know if I'm getting the terminology right, but omnipotence versus omnipresence, I think. Something like that, right? So, you get into this thing that God, it's only God. And He's all powerful, all existing. It's all that there is. And you're not even really here, and everything around you is not really here. It's just Him. It's just Him. That's all there is. And when you can really focus in on that, then you take you and your surroundings and you pull it back in and you say, okay, now that I'm connected, now that I'm focused on what's really real, let me bring this aspect that is real because you will it into existence. So because you've done that, it is here, it is real, I'm really here right now. And I'm going to pull them together in this little spot of existence in this moment in creation that I'm standing in right now and experiencing. That's what I'm going to tap into and bring to you right now, and I want to talk to you about. And I want to schlep in all the things I'm going through and this and that, but it's not that, I'm just focusing on what my troubles are and my lackings, and again, just talking to the wall. It's that, no, I'm tapping into this like ultimate truth. And now that I've got that phone line open, now I'm gonna like, speak it out and unload my burden. And it's tough because it's a lot of balls to juggle in the air. It takes a lot of concentration, but it it it's a whole different experience of speaking to God. And I feel like you can really visualize that what you're trying to convey to Him is actually getting somewhere. And you know, the other day, thank God, I'm not saying like I'm some big tzaddik that I do this all the time or whatever. I wish. I'd love to some more, and I want to start working on that. But Hashem blessed me the other day that I did have a chance for a little bit of time to go do this the other night, and it was like actually kind of hard to speak because, you know, if you can really get in that zone, it's almost like it's not that it's for lack of words, but it's just like I just want to experience you. Here you are. You're so real. You're right here. You're it. There's nothing else. All I can feel is you right now. And it's almost kind of hard to want to say, "Oh yeah, and like, can you help me, pay off this, minus in the bank or this or that or you know what I mean? Like that seems like so inconsequential, but that's the reason that we're here in the first place is to, you know, connect that stuff back to the ultimate source. So, like I said, that really helped me. I'm going to keep trying to go with this because it was like it happened the other day and it was just like, wow, like so it was really cool, and I'm gonna try and keep going with it, and maybe other people want to try and go with it too. Maybe it'll help you. But there's no right or wrong way to do it. Hitbodedut, obviously, as everyone says, another great thing that's much more simple than all this is, if you do a nice niggin, you sing yourself a nice tune, and sometimes, without needing to focus and this and that, just to, kind of open up the layers and kind of, again, get the gears rolling. Another thing people say is to start a Hitbodedut session with, thanking, thank you that I'm alive, thank you that, I've got my health, I've got this, I've got that, and going through a checklist of all the things you want to show appreciation for, and that can kind of like lift up, any bad feelings you've got and kind of open up your heart to talk to. So these are all different methods, and there's a lot more. And, we should all use them in our arsenal of fighting the spiritual war and coming out victorious. So, best of luck. Love you guys. Have a good one.